Dred Scott was a slave who sued his master's widow for freedom. Scott argued that his master, John Emerson, took him to free soil on the Illinois and Wisconsin territory and legally granted him his freedom. Shortly after, Emerson passed away and Scott did not receive the freedom he was promised. On March 6, 1857, Scott's case reached the United States Supreme Court, and they declared that the slave owners could take their slaves to a Western territory, which went against the newly formed Republican Party. These actions proved that African Americans truly had no rights in the American government.
John Brown was a white abolitionist who said that God sent him on a mission to abolish slavery. Beginning around 1854, Brown led an attack to Kansas at the polls to try to persuade people that slavery was wrong. On October 16, 1859, Brown led 18 men to Harper's Ferry, Virginia. Local citizens, militia, and John Brown had a gunfire fight, killing 2 locals and 8 men fighting with Brown. John Brown was tried and publicly lynched on December 2, 1859.
The Missouri Compromise was made to try and calm down the tension between slave and free states when Missouri became a slave state in 1820. At the time, there were 22 states, 11 free states and 11 slave states. When Missouri became a slave state, not only did it make more slave states, it also gave slave states an advantage in government and would most likely have helped with slave expansion if Maine had not entered as a free state later. When Maine entered, it gave both free and slave states the same amount of numbers again, and the Compromise held the Union together for more than 30 years until the Kansas-Nebraska Act of 1854.
Lincoln was elected president in 1861, which enraged many Southerners because the Southerners knew that it meant an inevitable end to slavery. Until his death, Lincoln continued to receive death threats from angry Southerners who were upset that their economical situation became much worse. Lincoln's presidency was one of the last straws for the South. It sent America into a civil war.
After the Civil War, on December 18, 1865, the United States officially adopted the 13th Amendment. The 13th Amendment states that neither slavery nor involuntary servitude shall exist within the United States or any subject to their jurisdiction. After the adoption of the 13th Amendment, slaves were still treated poorly and less than human.
After the South surrendered in Richmond, Virginia, the South didn't really know what to do next. When the slaves caught word that they lost the war, the slaves were acting unruly to their masters. Political leaders and plantation owners formed a group of Night Riders that later became known as the KKK. Due to the unlawful slaves in the South, the Night Riders were condescending to women, burnt down houses, destroyed plantations, whipped, and killed residential slaves.
The Reconstruction era was a period of rebuilding after the war. It lasted from 1865 to 1877. Southerners were granted amnesty under Lincoln and Johnson, who both took moderate positions in efforts to normalize the South. Directly after the war, Southern lawmakers passed black codes which prevented former slaves from buying or renting land. The 14th Amendment was added to the Constitution during the era, and it stated that all persons born in the United States are citizens of the United States and of the state where they reside.